Hello and welcome to the Max Bernier Show. My name is Daniel Tyree. I'm the Executive Director of the People's Party of Canada, but today I am your host. We are back after an extended hiatus over the summer. We had a busy year. We had a Maxim's by-election campaign. We launched candidate selection process. We've been planning a big important event for next summer, but we're back and we have a bit more time to focus on promoting some content and some conversations to our supporters. I'm here with Max today. We're going to talk about some important topics, including the Israel-Hamas conflict, recent developments on the climate change file, and the most important topic, mass immigration. Before we get into that, how are you doing, Max?
Fine, and you, Danielle?
It's good. It's always good to be back on the set and having important conversations.
So you had a busy summer like me.
Oh yeah. I mean, much of it together, but we're back and I got a bit more time to do stuff like this. So
and that's great to be together and to be able to speak to our people and Canadians about most important issues that are affecting our country.
I started to hear that people were missing the show, so here we are back to have some important conversations. Let's get right into things. I want to start things off with developments on the Israel-Hamas conflict. So I'm sure most people have been following this. It's been kind of the hot topic in world news the last month or so. On October 7th, Hamas attacked Israel, and since then there's been an ongoing conflict between the two countries. You came right out of the gates with a pretty assertive Canada First position that kind of drew response from people in the mainstream media, people in the alternative media, even. But I think it's an important position that should be part of the larger conversation. So can you kind of...
Yes, I can explain a little bit our position, the position of the People's Party of Canada on that conflict. As you know, we created the People's Party of Canada for Canadians. And my main concern is Canadians and the safety of Canadians. And I don't want our country to be part of that conflict in Middle East. What is happening right now in our country with the inflation, the standard of living of Canadians is going down. That's our preoccupation, mass immigration. So there's conflict usually around the world, but this one is a big one. I understand that. But Canada must not participate in that. Our role historically is to promote peace and peacekeeping. Maybe we may have a role to play there, but I don't want our country to send money over there. And actually, it happened. The Trudeau government, I believe, sent a couple of millions of dollars to Israel. But for me, it's Canada first, and my concern is about Canadians and not about what is happening outside our country. I believe that it's a logic position. If you want to work for Canadians, you must be sure that you will bring back that money home. Bring it home. Yeah, we want to bring home the money that Canadian taxpayers are giving right now because of the Trudeau government, and Poilievre will be the same. Throwing money and in this conflict like they did in Ukraine. Yeah. Actually, right now, Ukraine is not in the news anymore. I believe because, they're not winning, and now it's not in to support Ukraine. But for me, I said at that time, we must not participate in that conflict. And that's the same thing for the new conflict in Middle East.
Yeah, they've moved on to a new current thing, so to speak. So right out of the gate, you came out and said, no money, no troops, and we're not taking any refugees.
It's interesting about refugees, what you just said, because as you know, the Israeli government had a paper ready and they were saying, they're going to have a lot of Palestinian refugees, but Canada can help and Canada can take a lot of them. We cannot save the world. And, we still have mass immigration and a lot of refugees that are coming here right now. So we need to stop that. And Canada won't be able to save the world on that.
Yeah. That paper projected between 500,000 and 1 million displaced refugees from Palestine, and listed Canada as a potential option because of our lenient position when it comes to immigrants and refugees. certainly don't have the capacity to absorb anywhere close to that number of refugees. I found it fascinating, though, that you made these statements days after the conflict started, and people said you were overreacting. They said, no one's calling for troops to come. No one's calling for money to go overseas. No one's saying anything about refugees. All we want is your moral support, is what they said. Yeah. But just a month later, the Trudeau government has sent $10 million. News broke a week or two ago that Canadian Special Forces were there on the ground, the JTF-2. Yeah. And now there's white papers coming out of the Israeli government about sending hundreds of thousands of refugees to places, including Canada. So yet again, time is on our side, and in just a couple of weeks, you're proven to be right. And this is an important position to maintain in the current zeitgeist.
It is the only position. If you want to help Canadians and working for them, you don't have to spend money overseas for conflict like that. But I'm very sad about the situation right now, because nobody will speak to Canadians about that and the impact that it will have to our standard of living by sending money. But also, you just said about refugees, about 1 million of them will have to come somewhere, more than millions of them. We had more than 1 million newcomers last year, and we know the impact. So we cannot afford that. We need to take care of our population first.
Yeah, exactly. On that note, I do want to shift over to the next topic there, which is the current conversation on climate change. So a few weeks back, it was announced by the Trudeau government that they would be suspending the carbon tax for 3 years, but specifically on home heating oil. So this was broadly perceived as a sort of regional pandering to Atlantic Canada, where heating oil is one of the most common forms of home heating. So this was a bit of a controversy. The Conservatives started pushing to have this expanded to suspend the carbon tax on all home heating, not just home heating oil. So what do you think about this kind of back and forth between the opposition, the fake opposition, and the government on the carbon tax?
But we must go back to the reason why we have a carbon tax. We have a carbon tax because the Trudeau government, Harper government, and Poilievre decided to sign and to be 100% with the Paris Accord. And that's why they need to do something to fight climate change. And Poilievre is saying, I won't impose any tax, but he will have to give money to new green technologies, and he will have a goal. So for us, that's not our discussion. The discussion is easy for us. No carbon tax, no Paris Accord. We will withdraw from the Paris Accord. We won't impose any regulations to businesses to fight climate change. We won't give subsidies to any business to fight climate change. So that's easy. The climate, as you know, there's no climate emergency in our country. We need to stop that. We need to have a real conversation with Canadians. But Poilievre is too chicken to take a position and saying, no, I won't sign the Paris Accord. Poilievre is a globalist like Trudeau, and we are the only national political party that is saying the truth. When your carbon emission in Canada is less than 2%, that's
of the global emissions.
Of the global emission. Yeah. That's it. You cannot, if you do everything, it will be only 2%. And the cost of these regulations, the cost of the carbon tax, imposing more cost on Canadians right now, when our economy is not growing, when we have the inflation, they're saying that the inflation is about 4%. But Daniel, you do your grocery, you pay your rent, it's about 8, 9, 10%. That's the real inflation. And the way to stop that is to have the smaller government that will respect everybody and won't play with the UN on their PEP socialist project.
Yeah. It's so silly to have this conversation on which types of home heating should have a carbon tax. No carbon tax. Like, this is a massive driving force behind inflation, because everything is affected by these kind of carbon emissions. Like not only producing food, but moving the food around, any sort of transportation. It's a huge intermediary cost that'll affect everything. So we do have to make more aggressive changes than what's being offered by the fake opposition. And Pierre offers nothing but slogans. It's all about technology, not taxes. And when asked for a specific position on the Paris Accord, he dodges it because he's trying to appease these different groups. He's not doing what's best for Canada.
He's just trying to, please everybody. And, he's speaking like a politician who is reading polling and focus group. He's like a robot. He has his slogan and that's it. And after that, if you want to have more details, you won't.
Yeah.
For us, you have everything. No carbon tax, no Paris Accord. We won't fight the climate change, that fight against climate change. And if provinces want to do something, that's for them. They can do what they want. But for us at the federal level, we won't have any policies against climate change.
Very clear.
Yeah.
Very simple. On that note, I do want to shift over to the final topic there, which is mass immigration. So we got some big news on this topic in the last couple of weeks coming out of the Trudeau government. You might not have seen it. There's been much coverage in the media. The official opposition hasn't said anything about it as far as I'm aware. But the Trudeau government announced that they would be stabilizing is the language they use. Stabilizing the mass immigration figures at 500,000 per year after 2025. So for the last few years under Trudeau, they've been steadily increasing year over year. It's going up to 485,000 next year, up to 500,000 in 2025 and onwards. So what do you think about this? I thought the language itself was pretty ironic. They're stabilizing the destabilization of our society.
Yeah, they're stabilizing the destruction of our country.
Yeah.
That's the destruction of our country, that mass immigration. And, they will increase the number. From, I believe right now we have about 460,000 permanent resident
for this year.
But for this year, and add to that, the temporary resident, foreign students, foreign workers, and it's more than 1 million, 1 million person this year. So we must stop that, and that will grow. The permanent immigrant will go to 500,000, like you said, and you add that the temporary foreign workers, international students, it will be 1 million people. We cannot afford that. So Trudeau is saying, diversity is good, diversity is good. We cannot afford that because we cannot integrate them in our society. Yeah. They're living in ghettos all across the country. We need to integrate them.
Yeah.
And we cannot, it's too many people.
Yeah, I know, and it's just adding fuel to the fire when it comes to the housing crisis. People are coming here and they don't have anywhere to live. How are they supposed to integrate into our society when they're given that sort of situation? Earlier this week, a huge concern here is just the establishment of these ghettos, these ethnic blocks that are bringing in their own foreign conflicts. Earlier this week, on Monday, during a Diwali celebration, there was violence that broke out in a Mississauga parking lot between Sikh Palestinian separatists and Hindu Diwali celebrators. You can hardly recognize our country. Like it's filled with foreigners that are there eager to fight in tribal conflicts that you don't even see in India anymore. Like the Palestinian movement is bigger in Canada now than it is in other countries abroad. We don't need this in our streets.
And that's what I said 6 years ago. I did 6 tweets and I said, multiculturalism, radical multiculturalism we need to stop that. It is not working. We are telling them, don't integrate our society. You want to promote your ideas. You want to bring the conflicts of your countries of origin. Do it. And they're doing it right now. So that's because of mass immigration, but that's because also of multiculturalism in our country.
Yeah.
And I'm not the first one who said that. I must say that Merkel, she said that 15 years ago, that multiculturalism it's a failure. It's not working. And we need to stop that. We need to repeal that legislation.
Yeah.
And now we are seeing that every day. And you have the mainstream media that is speaking a little bit, they're saying a little bit what I said 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But nobody will tell them that they're racist or xenophobe. That's what they did to us. That's what they did that to us in 2019. But we were telling the truth, and we were saying if it's mass immigration all the time, we will have conflict in Canada because they're bringing these conflicts from their country of origins. So we need to stop that. And Polyev won't speak about that.
No, he's playing politics, just like with the just
he's
like with the
pandering
carbon
to them.
tax.
He will go there and have different costumes like Trudeau.
Yep.
So he's playing that game. And now Canada, if you want to be prime minister, you need to pander to every communities.
Yep.
But I want them to, I want pander to them. Our policy is for Canadians. And I had a discussion a couple of years ago with a lady in Vancouver, and she was calling herself a Chinese Canadian.
Yeah.
I said, you're not a Chinese Canadian for me. You are a Canadian. You come here, you want to embrace our society, you want to be part of our society. Yes, you can keep some heritage of your country of origin, but when you're coming here, you need to say goodbye to your country of origin and embracing your new country. But they're not doing that with that legislation and pushing always for more and more diversity.
Yep.
So that's the impact of diversity. When Trudeau said diversity is our strength, it is not.
Yeah.
It is not. We are saying that right now in our face.
No. Trudeau has initiated a dangerous, unprecedented social experiment on Canada. We're adding more than 1 million immigrants a year. That's the population of Nova Scotia or Saskatchewan being added to our country every year. 2.5% of our population. Our complete population growth is coming from immigration, not from natural-born Canadians. We don't even know what impact this will have, 5-10 years down the line. We've seen how much things have changed just since you started speaking out against this in the last 6-7 years. I'm terrified to see what it looks like in 6-7 more years. Yeah,
absolutely. You're right about that. And that discussion about immigration, it's a discussion also about our borders.
Yeah. And
Trudeau, after, I think it took him 4 years to close the Roxham Road in Quebec, and everything was supposed to be okay. At the last year, when that road was open for, fake refugees, we had about 30,000 people who crossed that road in Quebec. And Trudeau shut it down, and we were asking for that since the beginning of all that.
Yep.
So, and Trudeau shut that down, but now we have a new Roxham Road. The new Roxham Road is the airports in Canada, Montreal and Pearson.
Yeah.
People know they can come and with a tourist visa, and after that they're saying, okay, now I'm a refugee. So they're doing that, and from January to September, we had more than 26,000 of fake refugees who were saying, after coming to Canada with a tourist visa, when they're at the airport, no, I'm a refugee. So why are they doing that? It's because the Trudeau government changed the regulation, and usually if you want to apply to come to Canada on a tourist visa, you need to show that you have the money to stay in Canada and you have the money to go back.
Yeah.
But now they said you don't have to prove that anymore.
Yeah.
So they're coming from, Africa, Bangladesh, and Kenya, and all these countries. They're coming to Canada as a tourist. But in reality, they want to come as a refugee, and they're coming as a fake refugees. And now 26,000. And we had about 30,000 with the Roxham Road in 1 year. Yeah. And now up to last September, 26,000 of them are crossing our border, at our airports in Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver.
Yeah. With one hand, they solve the Roxham Road problem, but then they make a new problem, and now we're getting even more of these fake refugees than when Roxham Road is open. It's absolutely unbelievable. I don't know why they're manufacturing these types of problems. Yeah. There's ideological adherence to mass immigration. Perhaps this pressure from groups like the Century Initiative, who think Canada's population needs to be 100 million by 2100.
You have small countries that are very successful and prosperous.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
don't need to be big to be prosperous. But what Trudeau is doing also, that Trudeau's father did fight the separatist movement in Quebec. Mm-hmm. But Trudeau, the son, with mass immigration and multiculturalism and diversity, is giving fuel to the separatist movement in Quebec. Right now, the leader of the Parti Québécois in Quebec is very popular in the poll, and he's speaking about immigration because in Quebec, Quebecers want to preserve their language, their culture, their identity, and it's part of the nationalist movement in Quebec and the separatist movement. So what Trudeau is doing right now is helping the PQ, the independence movement in Quebec. We have the solution to have a united country. No more mass immigration, no more multiculturalism, respecting the Constitution, and fixing the equalization formula. You'll have a peace in our country, and you won't have any constitutional debates. But now it's starting again in Quebec, and at the next election in Quebec, I believe that it will be an important discussion. So Trudeau is helping the separatist movement and is destroying our country.
Yeah. The last thing I want to address is some of the lies that support this this push for mass immigration, and it's all economic. Our the Canadian economy will collapse without immigration. Our population pyramid is inverted. We need immigrants to make sure that we don't have a demographic collapse. What do you think about some of these economic arguments that were pushed on us by the elites?
Well, it's not based on facts. Actually, if you look at the birth rate in our country, the fact that we have that mass immigration to help because our birth rate is very low, it's not helping. These people are coming and they're older, so it's not helping the population.
And they bring over their parents and their relatives.
Yeah, we have family reunification. So serious studies are saying that you won't solve the fact that the birth rate is very low by immigration.
Yeah, it's like a Band-Aid solution. It doesn't address the root cause. These people are
older. And when you bring more people, yes, maybe your GDP will grow, but the GDP per capita is going down. Yeah. That's the most important data, the GDP per capita. So it is going down. Our standard of living is going down. And I don't have to explain that. Canadians know that. Yeah. They know that every day. So we are poorer. We are not richer, and at the same time, we are not helping to grow the salary of Canadians because it's cheap labor. So what they're doing, Poilievre and Trudeau, they're working with big corporations. Mm-hmm. They're big because they want to have people and cheap laborers instead of investing to be more productive in robotic and more productivity. Mm-hmm. No, they're asking the government, I want more foreign workers, and it's cheap labor. So for Canadians working, their salary is going down instead of going up because the solution for these big corporations is to increase their salary. They will have Canadians for this job. Yeah. Just increase your offer and increase the salary and you'll have more people. No, they don't want to do that. They want to have more people coming from outside the country, cheap labor. So they're not helping Canadians by doing that. They're not. And Poilievre is okay with that. And the socialists in Ottawa, Jack Mead is okay with that. He is supposed to defend the people and the middle class. But with mass immigration, we are not helping the middle class. The middle class is poorer every year. The GDP per capita is going down. So
it's only the people at the top that benefit. They benefit from the low...
The big corporations and the people at the top. actually, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. We the average people, we have to suffer with wage stagnation, with increasing rent prices, with increasing housing costs, pricing most people out of the market, while the elites at the top get to benefit from cheaper labor and increase their own profit margins. It's disgusting, and frankly, we see a cross-partisan coalition on this issue because they're all pandering to these ethnic blocs to win seats, mainly around the big cities, but increasingly in smaller towns, because we see these people flooding out of the big cities now into smaller areas. We saw that when we were even in southern Manitoba earlier this year.
And that is having an impact in small towns also at the same time.
Yeah.
So
nowhere safe anymore.
They don't have any argument to defend mass immigration. That's why they don't want to have the debate. If you want to try to open the debate, journalists and establishment politicians will throw names at you, saying that you're xenophobe and a racist. But I believe they cannot do that right now because more people understand. If you look at the polls, about half of the population are saying, I'm fed up with that. And don't forget, about a third of our population is coming from immigration. So immigrants also, the immigrants who came here by following the rules, and they were at that time, they had to speak English or French, and they had more points if they were able to speak one of our two official languages. So we had a point system that was very efficient. Actually, Trump was speaking about that at the last campaign.
Yeah.
For immigration, we must have a point system like in Canada. And now it's not.
Now we must have a point system like in Canada 10 years ago.
Absolutely, absolutely. So they're coming here, they don't integrate to our society, and if you have that debate, it's very, very, it can be very not productive because you won't be able to have a fair discussion.
Yeah.
But we just had that discussion about the facts, and the facts that, we're not richer with that. That's not solving the very low birth rate.
Yeah.
And all their arguments, you can destroy it easily.
Yeah, they're lies coming from the elites who benefit from it themselves.
Absolutely.
Mass immigration is the issue of our times, and it's only a matter of time before more people realize it.
And people are realizing it because they're looking in Europe. They're looking in France, in UK, in Germany. They had mass immigration and also multiculturalism, and now they can see that in France, there are places where you cannot go. A no-go zone. It's too dangerous. And that will happen in our country if we don't stop mass immigration. So more people are aware of that, and they want to preserve the country like us.
Yeah.
So
I just want to preserve the country I grew up in. It's not that far off.
No. I hope it's not too late.
Oh, yeah. So that's everything we have to cover today, folks. We'll be back with another episode in another week or two, so watch out for that. Make sure you'll see it right away if you're following us on the social media channels. Make sure you're following us wherever you're watching us right now, on Facebook, YouTube, as well as those other channels like Rumble and Odyssey. Make sure you're following us on those pro-free speech channels in case we get banned off some of the more traditional channels. So if you can take a moment to interact with this video, drop a like, a comment, a retweet, a share, whatever the social media language is for the site that you're on, please take a moment to do that. Do you have any final words for our viewers, Max?
I want to thank everybody, be strong and free. And don't forget, if you want to know more about us, go on our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca. You'll have all our policies over there. That will be the same policies when the next election will come. So read it. If you like it, share it. And we're going to start that common sense revolution together. I need you, and I believe that you need us also.
Excellent. Have a great day. Stay strong and free.